I'm joined today by Vickie Hadge of the Even So It Is Well YouTube channel. I wish you a happy belated Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I'm so pleased to be here.
So congratulations, Vickie. You won my parody song contest. For those who don't know, several weeks ago, I put out a parody song contest, a parody called I've Searched Everywhere. If you want to see my music video with me singing, check it out in the link below, and Vickie's winning video. And she has chosen to take the $1,000 prize donated to her preferred charity, which is Overcoming Multiple Sclerosis, a charity that provides evidence-based lifestyle advice for multiple sclerosis. Congratulations, Vickie.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun to make.
Well, definitely check it out when you get the chance. Again, it's in the links below. So, for those who don't know you, you have multiple sclerosis. You were diagnosed in 2017. How did you end up getting diagnosed, and what led you to making YouTube videos?
Oh, thanks. Well, my first symptoms actually started in 2006. That's when I had my first discernible MS symptoms, and I wasn't diagnosed at that time. But I did seek the care of a neurologist, and they monitored me for 2 years and didn't see any changes. So they said, go ahead and live your life. But it did get my attention. It was kind of scary, and I spent the weekend in the hospital on high-dose steroids. And so I decided to make a bunch of lifestyle changes, and I started eating more vegetarian and doing yoga, and I started practicing mindfulness and meditation, and I went happily along for 10 years, and then I had another relapse. And then a series of doctors, and I received my diagnosis in 2017.
So you had a 10-year remission. You don't hold the record. I have one patient who had optic neuritis at age 30 and didn't have her next symptom of MS until age 67.
Wow.
But, that is quite a long time. What was it like to sort of deal with that uncertainty? You might have MS, you might not.
Yeah, it was really scary. Like I said, it really got my attention. I had been perfectly healthy up to that point, and all of a sudden I was having difficulty walking. My first symptom was drop foot that came on over the course of the weekend. And I went to several different doctors, and they even sent me to a neurosurgeon thinking that it might be a tumor. So when they said it's not a tumor, I was very relieved, but they said, oh, it might be MS. So it was really scary, not knowing really much about MS at that time.
Yeah, I actually saw a patient just the other day who retrospectively obviously had MS for 20 years and had very typical history of MS and obvious physical exam findings in addition to MRI. And I was working with a medical student, and I said, it's easy for us, but sometimes at the beginning it could be extraordinarily subtle. And, just like you, maybe this individual had minor symptoms and they kind of went away, and they said, well, I don't need to follow up. I feel good. And the doctors blew it off also. So that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I know you're a pretty healthy person. You were vegetarian even prior to this, right?
I was. So, I've always been pretty health conscious. But once I got my diagnosis, I really, really cleaned up my act. And I'm now whole food plant-based. I eat 100% plants. I won't say that I'm vegan, but I try to live a vegan lifestyle. The V word can be controversial. But I also have added a lot of exercise. I've increased my mindfulness. I took an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction class on the teachings of Jon Kabat-Zinn. I also got a certificate in plant-based nutrition, so I could make smart choices with my diet. Shortly after I was diagnosed, I found the Overcoming MS organization through Google search, and a lot of their evidence lined up with what I had learned already and what I had been living. So it was a natural fit for me to start implementing more of what they showed evidence in.
Yeah, I know turkey is low in saturated fat, but technically against the OMS program, right? I won't put you on the spot there. But so for those who aren't so familiar with the program, can you talk a little bit about it? And, I know it's hard to follow everything perfectly. What aspects of it do you follow?
Sure. It's a 7-step program, and it focuses on diet and lifestyle changes, including a whole food plant-based diet plus seafood. I don't do the seafood. I'm just plant-based. and vitamin D and lifestyle changes with exercise and mindfulness and preventing in family members and making changes for life. So they also want you to supplement with omega-3s, flax oil. I don't do the flax oil. It doesn't agree with me. So I do algae oil instead of flax oil in my diet. And I make sure that I eat foods that are rich in omega-3s like flax seeds and chia seeds and hemp hearts and Brussels sprouts and walnuts and things like that.
Yeah, I always thought the hardest part of the program would be the sunlight, right? I mean, you're working indoors, we're wearing clothing. How exactly do you get sunlight? Do you actually make an effort to do that, or just say, I do the best I can?
I do. I make an effort to get outside every day, even in the cold weather. Obviously, I can't go out wearing my bathing suit in the wintertime, so I do supplement my vitamin D, and I have that monitored twice a year with blood work. But in the summertime, I do try to go outside for at least 15 minutes a day with no sunscreen, so my body can make its own vitamin D.
Yeah, even with my type 1 skin, I also take vitamin D, but it's very hard to get sun. And I have to say, me personally, I'm sort of less and less convinced that vitamin D does anything. Maybe you really do need the sun. There's sort of increasing evidence of that.
Yeah, I think, the more that we can be out in nature, even just being out in the forest with the bacteria that are in the soils, they really change our brains. We inhale those when we're walking around in the soils, and it releases those feel-good hormones. So I'm all for being outside.
The hygiene hypothesis, we're just too clean. You throw away the hand
Yes.
sanitizer, right? Well, so the
Yes.
natural question for me is, how have you done? Has it worked for you? What are your results?
It has. So I had my second relapse in 2016, was diagnosed in 2017, and I've had no relapses since. I have some symptoms that are there, they're present. I have a lesion in my spine that has left me with some numbness and sensation loss on the left side. I get some spasms and some tingling, especially when I exercise. It feels like I get blisters on the bottom of my foot. And I do have some fatigue and a little bit of cog fog, but they're all very manageable. I live really well with my MS.
That's good. That's awesome to hear. I love it when people post comments that they're doing well, like maybe they're following a certain diet or taking a certain medication and doing well, and they post in the comments. And please share that one way or the other in the comments below. Now, you have a very interesting profession. You have a virtual assistance business since 2003, so almost 20 years. I think of a virtual assistant as like a 20-year-old millennial. Not that you're much older than that, but how did you get into that?
It's funny. When I had my son, I stayed home for 5 years and had planned to go back to work full time when he entered school. And when he went back to school, I decided that I wasn't going back to work. I wanted to get him on and off the bus every day. So I looked at my skill set and I started looking for jobs that I could do from home. And I came across this archaic term of stay-at-home secretary. And I looked into that and came across virtual assistant, and I found a local group, virtual assistants group, and they kind of mentored me. And I'm 19 years into my virtual assistant business.
Very neat. And probably your YouTube skills are helpful for that, if anything, right? You know how to edit video now, So what do you
Yes.
like doing?
I can now edit and upload videos.
There we go. Well, it's harder than it looks to tell people. So, that's a pretty cool job. What do you do like in your free time? What are your interests outside of social media?
Oh, so I sing in the choir. So I do have a little bit of singing background. I also am a member of my church. I'm pretty active in my church, so I do that. I'm on a local board of education. Not a board of education, I'm sorry, a local education foundation where we raise money and we give it back to the schools. I also love to play with my family, and I garden, and I like to read.
Very neat. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did you get into singing, because you made that video and everything, but you did a great job. It came out wonderfully.
It was really hard. There were so many words in that video.
Yes, it's a very difficult song to sing. This is a parody of I've Been Everywhere. The parody is I've Searched Everywhere, about someone with multiple sclerosis searching for answers. And it's just a very fast-paced, hard-to-sing song. But if your experience is the same as mine, probably editing the video was even harder than singing it. Is that your experience? Just so many little things popping up all over the place?
Yes, yes, because there's so many people and so many content creators and doctors that are listed in the song. The editing process took a lot longer than the filming process because, like you said, all these little, you had to get the images, you had to get the names, and get them up on the screen. So the editing took most of an afternoon, long afternoon.
I could tell you a funny story about my editing of that after we're done, but I think it came out great, and you chose a great charity that I really believe in. To be perfectly forthright, I didn't actually make the donation yet. We're having some technical difficulties with the website, but I promise you I'm good for it. You can shake me down afterwards if the donation doesn't come in, because you're on the board for multiple sclerosis, or you manage the local group in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, I'm an ambassador, which means I lead a local circle. OMS has circles, which are support groups, and you can go to their website and look for support groups in your areas. And the support groups are like-minded people who are looking to add diet and lifestyle changes to their medication to help them live well with their MS.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to be motivated for the first month or 2 months, but everyone falls off after a while, and it's definitely important to have that social support.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, like you said, it's hard to stay on it. We're eating a diet that is not typical, although it's becoming more and more accepted. I think more and more people are looking to eating whole foods, if not whole plant-based foods. So having that support and having that connection with people who understand is really helpful.
Yeah, so again, check out the Even So It As Well channel and the songs if you want to check it out. Anything else you want us to know, Vicki, before we go?
Yeah, some things that I have learned along the way over the years is, there's 4 key pillars that I follow to live well with my MS. It's diet, exercise, sleep, and kindness. And I think all of those are really important. And, the diet, everything that we eat has the ability to either help us or harm us. And if we don't exercise, we become deconditioned and our symptoms become worse. And I have found over the years in researching, sleep is critically important for our brains and central nervous systems, and kindness, that, the mindfulness and the meditation fall under that. If we are stressed all the time, the stress hormones are really bad for us. And if we can implement kindness through compassion and mindfulness, we get all those feel-good hormones. So we can live well with our MS.
Yeah, every time I watch one of your videos, I'm thinking, she seems like she had a good day today.
Thanks. Most days are good.
Well, anyways, congratulations again, and I hope you have a happy holiday season for you and your family.
Thank you, and you too.